Quickly, just keeping an eye on a situation that we've been watching on this channel for a few days, even before I did a video about it. Egypt and China announced joint exercises. Well, those joint exercises have begun. China deploys J-10 fighters to Egypt. The air combat exercises between Egypt and China serve multiple purposes, but Beijing's eye on Africa is highlighted by the drills. A few days ago, I became aware of the flight of 5 to 6 Y-20 aircraft from China to Egypt, and they announced this drill. Well, now we've got a little bit more specific breakdown of it, and we're going to go into it because it is pretty important. And India, pay attention. In another sign of China's growing interest in the Middle East and Africa, the People's Liberation Army Air Force has sent multiple combat aircraft to Wadi Abu Rish Air Base for Eagles of Civilization 2025, the first aerial training exercise with Egypt. The People's Liberation Army Air Force deployed a Y-20U aerial refueling tanker, a KJ-500 AWACS aircraft, and J-10BC fighters from the 18th Air Brigade, the 177th Air Brigade, according to China 3 Air Army Telegram channel. Egypt is flying its MiG-29M M2 Fulcrum multi-role fighters in the drills. All this is taking place against the backdrop of conflicting claims about Cairo purchasing J-10s and America's gaze turning away from Africa. Now we watched this flight come in. They stopped in Dubai to do a technical stop and then went straight to Egypt. In this article, it talks about the exercises taking place, and specifically the exercises they're taking place with the aircraft that they're using. Now, this is a video quick CCTV, so this is Chinese. And that's just some video from the training exercise. As we go into this, they are flying the J-10 fighters, the multi-role fighters, which Egypt says that they're considering purchasing. They've also purchased some other systems from China, specifically surface-to-air missiles and a couple other things. But in this article, it points out, in addition, it has been suggested that China can use the exercise to train against relatively modern MiG-29s, the type that remains the primary fighter for the Indian Air Force and Navy. Nice photos coming out of the joint Egyptian Air Force and PLAN exercise. The Egyptian MiG-29M M2 share many similarities with the Indian Air Force and Indian Navy's MiG, UP-29 UPG, and MiG-29K, such as the same avionics platform. So, China is doing this exercise with Egypt, which is basically a cell. They're bringing all this over to show the capabilities of it, and will very likely make a sale with it. And they'll sell either the fighters or the refuelers or the AWACS to Egypt, while they get an opportunity to use their newest multi-role fighter, the J-10. Not their newest stealth ones or their Gen 6 ones, but their new active in-force fighters against very like enemy targets. So they get a chance to use their tactics and their training to better themselves against the very aircraft that they will very likely have to face in a scenario of combat against India. This is why India is scrambling. They realize the MiG-29 is not going to be able to keep up. That's why they bought those 39 Rafales for the Indian Navy. This is why the Indians are doing that, their 5th generation stealth fighter, which I've done a couple of videos about that on this channel. This also is an alarm bell to the Israelis. Because if you're going to have Eastern equipment coming in there that you're not as nearly as familiar with as you are Eastern Bloc or Western weapon systems that can be produced in vast quantity. China can build stuff. They just can. So you know for a fact that Israel's also keeping a very close eye on this air base right here. Which, by the way, I got to compliment you on your hardened shelters. Egypt, your spacing of those hardened shelters. Sure would be nice if the U.S. Air Force would take a little bit of a note on that. How one cluster bomb wouldn't destroy an entire, well, let's just say a couple $1 billion worth of aircraft. Just pointing that out for no random reason, no particular reason, just randomly. Thought I'd just throw that out there, how beautifully those hardened shelters with their spacing would prevent a cluster munition from destroying $1 billion worth of aircraft. I'm just, again, saying that randomly for no particular reason. So there's a possibility the J-10, seen here, could be prowling the skies of the Mideast. China already has a base in Djibouti, a drone base. It's a very considerable size base, believe me. We'll look at it real quick. So let's quickly just switch over to Google Maps here. And this is the Chinese base in Djibouti. As you can see, there's definitely helicopter hangars. A vertical takeoff and landing aircraft could definitely take off there. You can see it's an underground facility just based on the shadows being cast here. So there's many underground facilities here. This picture that you see here was very likely taken right here. Very likely taken right here at this very spot, and see the flagpoles right there. But as we zoom out, you can see this is a very large facility, and it has its own deep water pier. A deep water pier that would be able to have any Chinese naval vessel pull right up to it. You can see there's definitely housing here for more than, we'll just say that the housing size here is for more than just a company of men. Even have a soccer pitch. Isn't that lovely? It's a walled facility. It's fully fortified and expanding. We can see it's expanding here. So, it's in a very strategic location. That's Djibouti. Not your booty, Djibouti. And here is the Red Sea, and this is where that entire war has been taking place between the United States Navy and the Houthi rebels and anyone else who wants to shoot at a ship going through this little narrow stretch here. This tiny little itty-bitty old stretch of land here. By the way, there's been a mystery airbase that's popped up here. Don't know who did it, but it just popped up. That could be a separate story unto itself, but that just popped up there. I saw that in the news. That little island right there, and you can see it here on Google Maps. Oh, what's that? What's that, you say? Well, there's a much better picture somewhere in the news. That's completed now. So, but this story is about China and Egypt. As you can see, that base in Djibouti, that's not far from that base that they were at doing this training at this air base with these aircraft. So we watched them come over. We watched them land. Now we see what the exercise is that's taking place. We see that it's basically it's like when a salesman brings the item to your home. You try it for free, 30 days free, or you get your money back, or you send it for free for a refund. We'll bring it to you. So what we've got here is a joint selling opportunity and trading opportunity. India, pay attention. Pay close attention. That's all I got. Just to follow up on this story, I wanted to bring that to you. If you liked it, hit like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Let them know, hey, the Egyptians and the Chinese, their training exercise, it has a little bit to do with India. Not just a sales call. We'll catch you next time.